Last month, I discussed some of the short stories from Kahlil Gibran with you, and we saw how beautifully he combines prose with poetry. It's a kind of amalgamation of both prose and poetry in what he writes. And I did mention the book called The Prophet with you. Just the name of that book in the previous podcast. So today I'm going to discuss this book with you in more detail. It's a very simple story, and perhaps that's the reason it has been Kahlil Gibran's most famous work, because it carries that profound wisdom in utmost simplicity. It's awe-inspiring, to say the least, and people of many generations now have derived inspiration from it. And when you read the book, you may find that there is eventually nothing in it. There is no story as such. It's a very simple story of a man who's been on exile for around 12 years, and now he's going back to his home place, and the place he was living in at the moment during the exile. People from that place, they gather around him and ask him a few questions on different subjects, on love, religion, food, drinks, everything. And in every chapter there is one question, and then in detail the Prophet, or Al-Mustafa as his name is, he answers those questions. And as I said, it's a beautiful combination of prose and poetry in those answers. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to read certain chapters for you on different subjects, and you'll find how beautiful some of these simple ideas can be, and how spiritual they can be. And it won't be unfair to say that for many people in the last few decades, this book has been some kind of a scripture for them, and they have followed it religiously, finding bliss and comfort in it. And that tells you how aptly it has been called the Prophet. Although I don't think that has been the intention when he wrote the book, but it has been the case. Now let's go to the book, and I will read certain sections for you. So first, I go to this chapter on love, where somebody asks the Prophet about love, and this is how he answers. When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold, you yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you onto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all your laughter, and weep, but not all your tears. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself. Love possessive not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. Then somebody else asks him, speak to us of reason and passion. And so he answers and says, your soul is oftentimes a battlefield, upon which your reason and your judgment wage war against your passion and your appetite. Would that I could be the peacemaker in your soul, that I might turn the discord and the rivalry of your elements into oneness and melody. But how shall I, unless you yourselves be also the peacemakers, nay, the lovers of all your elements? Your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid-seas. For reason ruling alone is a force confining, and passion unattended is a flame that burns to its own destruction. Therefore, let your soul exalt your reason to the height of passion, that it may sing, and let it direct your passion with reason, that your passion may live through its own daily resurrection, and like the phoenix rise above its own ashes. I would have you consider your judgment and your appetite even as you would two loved guests in your house. Surely you would not honor one guest above the other, for he who is more mindful of one loses the love and the faith of both. Among the hills, when you sit in the cool shade of the white poplars, sharing the peace and serenity of distant fields and meadows, then let your heart say in silence, God rests in reason. And when the storm comes and the mighty wind shakes the forest, and thunder and lightning proclaim the majesty of the sky, then let your heart say in awe, God moves in passion. And since you are a breath in God's sphere and a leaf in God's forest, you too should rest in reason and move in passion. And then one old priest asks the prophet to speak of religion. And so the prophet speaks of religion, and he says, have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? And that which is neither deed nor reflection, but a wonder and a surprise ever springing in the soul, even while the hands hew the stone or tend the loom. Who can separate his faith from his actions, or his belief from his occupations? Who can spread his hours before him, saying, "This for God, and this for myself, this for my soul, and this other for my body"? All your hours are wings that beat through space from self to self. He who wears his morality but as his best garment were better naked. The wind and the sun will tear no holes in his skin, and he who defines his conduct by ethics imprisons his songbird in a cage. The freest song comes not through bars and wires. And he to whom worshipping is a window to open but also to shut has not yet visited the house of his soul, whose windows are from dawn to dawn. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. Take the plough and the forge and the mallet and the lute, the things you have fashioned in necessity or for delight. For in reverie you cannot rise above your own achievements, nor fall lower than your failures. And take with you all men. For in adoration you cannot fly higher than their hopes, nor humble yourself lower than their despair. And if you would know God, be not therefore a solver of riddles. Rather, look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children. And look into space. You shall see him walking in the cloud, outstretching his arms in the lightning, and descending in rain. You shall see him smiling in flowers, then rising and waving his hands in trees. And then, towards the end, somebody asks him about death. And so, this is what the Prophet says about the death. You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust the dreams, for in them is hidden the gate to eternity. Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling, that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountain top, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. And you can see the power in the words, in silences. So I would request you to read this book very slowly, one day at a time maybe, and then absorb these different ideas. It's a very spiritual and meditative experience to read this book. So I hope you will read it and have a really, really blissful experience.